Movies make us believe in places that never existed, cities that were never built, planets that were never discovered, wars that never happened, at least not there. But behind every illusion stands a real location, a street, a building, a stretch of land that agreed briefly to pretend it was something else. When the cameras stopped, those places were left behind. Some returned to ordinary life. Some were transformed forever. Some vanished completely. This is not a story about cinema. This is the story of real places that carried fictional worlds, and what happened to them once the illusion ended. The image was unforgettable. A lone man on horseback rides into a city stripped of life. Skyscrapers loom. Highways are choked with abandoned cars. Silence replaces civilization. Atlanta looked like the end of the world. In reality, Atlanta never stopped breathing. Filming took place at dawn, when streets could be briefly controlled. Hundreds of cars were placed by hand. Digital effects erased the rest. Police and production crews worked in perfect coordination to create emptiness where none truly existed. For a few hours at a time, a living city pretended it was dead. Atlanta has become one of the busiest filming hubs in the world. The hospital where Rick Grimes awoke from his coma still treats patients. The bridge where he first saw the abandoned city carries daily traffic. Office workers pass these locations without noticing their place in television history. The apocalypse came and left nothing behind. Hill Valley felt like memory. A town square that looked lived in. Storefronts that suggested generations. A courthouse clock frozen in time. But Hill Valley was never real. It existed on a studio backlot, carefully dressed to feel authentic. The same buildings were redressed to represent 1885, 1955, 1985, and 2015, sometimes within the same week. The courthouse square still stands. It has appeared in hundreds of productions since, but it will always be Hill Valley first. The clock tower remains preserved, not as architecture but as nostalgia. Mars looked hostile, silent, and ancient. The truth was older. Wadi Rum's red sand, towering rock formations, and isolation made it nearly perfect. Very little digital alteration was required. Nature had already done the work. Wadi Rum is now inseparable from science fiction. Tourists visit filming sites. Guides point out camera angles, yet the desert itself remains unchanged, indifferent to fame, untouched by story. Mars was temporary. Earth endured. The Overlook Hotel terrified audiences. Wide hallways. Endless isolation. A building that felt alive. For exterior shots, Stanley Kubrick used Timberline Lodge, a real, functioning ski resort high on Mount Hood. Snowstorms were real, isolation was genuine. Now, the lodge still operates. Families vacation there. Skiers rest by fireplaces, but the building carries a permanent association with horror. Visitors photograph hallways that were never filmed. The idea of the Overlook refuses to leave. Spielberg needed Normandy. Ireland offered geography, weather, and access. Explosions ripped into sand. Actors were thrown into surf. The chaos was deliberate and terrifyingly effective. Veterans later said the scene felt too real. The beach is peaceful. Waves roll in. Grass grows undisturbed. There is no marker, no memorial. The battle existed only for the camera, but its memory remains powerful. Gotham City was Chicago. Banks, alleys, elevated trains, all real, filmed in daylight, watched by passers-by. The city didn't hide itself. It simply became something darker. Chicago remains unchanged. People pass filming locations daily without noticing. But once seen as Gotham, the city never completely sheds that identity. The costume came off. The memory stayed. The future Los Angeles was filmed in abandoned factories and industrial zones. No need to destroy anything. The decay was already there. Fog, light, and sound turned neglect into prophecy. Some locations have been redeveloped. Others remain empty, still waiting in a future that already passed. The prison was abandoned. Cells were cold, walls were crumbling, silence filled the corridors. It became Shawshank. The film saved the building. Restored and preserved, it now welcomes visitors from around the world. A place built to imprison now exists to remember. Not every location survives. Some are dismantled immediately. Some are abandoned. Some are reclaimed by nature. These places do not get second chances. And those stories begin next. When filming ends, the illusion collapses instantly. Sets are stripped. Crews disappear. Budgets vanish. What remains is the land itself, sometimes scarred, sometimes transformed, sometimes quietly abandoned. This is where the story turns darker. Apocalypse Now was not just filmed in the jungle. It fought the jungle. Entire villages were constructed from scratch along the Philippine coast. Helicopters borrowed from the military flew real combat patterns. Weather destroyed sets faster than they could be rebuilt. Filming stretched far beyond schedule, draining money and sanity. The temple compound where Colonel Kurtz awaited his execution stood massive and isolated, a symbol of madness and power. The jungle reclaimed everything. Wood rotted. Vines climbed walls. Roofs collapsed inward. Locals salvaged materials. Nature erased the rest. There are no signs, no markers, no plaques. The war ended twice, once in history, once in cinema. Hobbiton was designed to disappear. Foam hills, temporary facades, painted doors meant to last only weeks. After filming, the set was dismantled exactly as planned. Fans arrived anyway. They stood in empty fields, imagining what had been there. Demand grew, tourism surged. The village was rebuilt, this time permanently. Real stone replaced foam. Gardens were planted to age naturally. Paths were laid to be walked for decades. Hobbiton now exists as a real place born from fiction. The illusion won. Danvers State Hospital was already abandoned when filming began. Its Gothic architecture, peeling paint, and endless corridors carried decades of institutional suffering. The film required no set dressing. Reality was enough. The hospital no longer exists. It was demolished. Apartments were built in its place. Only photographs and fragments of brick survive. A place once feared in life was erased quietly, without ceremony. James Cameron didn't recreate the Titanic. He recreated the Atlantic. A massive water tank was built on the Mexican coast. Full-scale ship sections were submerged and destroyed repeatedly. Scenes were filmed in freezing water for hours to capture realism. Excess was not accidental, it was deliberate. The tanks remain but silent. Concrete basins sit empty. Rust stains mark the walls. Wind moves where waves once crashed. Occasionally reused, mostly forgotten, the site stands as a monument to ambition. The prison was condemned. Broken windows. Cold cells. Decay everywhere. It became Shawshank. The film saved the building. Restored and preserved, the reformatory is now a museum. Visitors walk cell blocks once meant for punishment. A place built to confine now exists to remember. Kauai's valleys and waterfalls became Isla Nublar. No dinosaurs. No digital landscapes. Just nature framed carefully. Hurricanes changed everything. Trails were destroyed. Access was restricted. Some filming sites became unreachable. Nature reclaimed the illusion completely. The island feels prehistoric again. Rabat doubled for Mogadishu. Entire neighborhoods were transformed. Military vehicles rolled through real streets. Controlled chaos filled the city. The sets were removed. Life returned. But locals still remember when their home became someone else's battlefield. Abandoned schools, closed factories, and derelict housing estates became a collapsing future. No CGI decay, just reality filmed honestly. Many locations have been renovated. The future imagined in the film now feels like the past. Time moved faster than fiction expected. Some structures still stand. Locals maintain them. Tourists visit. A fictional planet became part of Earth's geography. Across the world, massive sets were abandoned. Ancient cities built for historical epics. Western towns left to collapse. Fantasy villages destroyed by storms. Once the money stopped, maintenance stopped. Film is temporary. Land is permanent. Some locations were forgotten. Some were erased deliberately. Some survived only in memory. And those final transformations bring us to the end. Some locations were changed forever. Not preserved. Not restored. Not remembered the way they once were. These places crossed a line. Once the cameras arrived, they could never fully return to what they had been. Forrest Gump appeared to travel endlessly. Deserts, mountains, small towns, national landmarks. In reality, dozens of real American locations briefly became symbols of innocence, persistence, and time passing. None of them were built for the film. They were simply reinterpreted. Many of those locations are now inseparable from the movie. Tourists visit benches, roads, and viewpoints not for their history, but for a fictional moment that felt real. The places did not change physically. They changed emotionally. Waterworld required the ocean itself. A massive floating set was built offshore. Entire structures were designed to move, sink, and collapse in real waves. The production was plagued by storms. Sets were damaged repeatedly. Costs spiraled out of control. The ocean erased everything. No structures remain. No traces exist. The sea reclaimed what was borrowed. Some sets were never meant to survive, and this one didn't. Fields, valleys, and hills became medieval battlefields. No permanent sets. No digital armies, just thousands of extras and open land. The land remains unchanged. But visitors stand where fictionalized history was filmed, confusing cinema with reality. The ground remembers nothing. People remember everything. Dense streets, neon signs, and endless crowds inspired futuristic cities. No sets were built. Reality itself became the reference. Those streets are changing. Neon disappears. Buildings are replaced. The future imagined by film fades as the real future arrives. Cinema preserved a version of the city that no longer exists. Maya Bay was transformed for filming. Vegetation was altered. Sand reshaped. Nature adjusted to fit the camera. Tourism exploded. Environmental damage followed. The beach was eventually closed to recover, destroyed not by the film itself, but by what came after. Fame became the threat. Real locations were used. Streets, factories, spaces where history actually occurred. No illusions, no stand-ins. These places are preserved carefully. Not as movie locations, but as historical witnesses. Cinema here did not replace memory. It reinforced it. The desert was used because it felt endless and hostile. Few sets. Real terrain. Many filming areas are inaccessible. Extreme conditions prevent tourism. The desert remains what it always was, unforgiving. Across the world, entire cities were built for movies. Historical epics in China. Ancient capitals for fantasy films. Western towns in remote deserts. Once filming ended, funding vanished. Some cities were demolished. Others remain empty, streets without people, buildings without purpose. They exist without stories now. Then is the moment a place stopped being itself. Now is what survived. Sometimes the difference is visible. Sometimes it exists only in memory. Sometimes it exists only on film. Movie locations are not just backdrops. They are witnesses to illusion. After the credits roll, no music plays for the location. There is no applause. No recognition. No curtain call. The street returns to traffic. The desert returns to silence. The building waits to be something else. Some locations were saved by cinema. Some were destroyed by it. Some were forgotten entirely. But every one of them shares the same truth. For a brief moment, reality agreed to pretend. And then it moved on. The next time you watch a movie, look closely. That place exists. Or it once did. Or it was changed forever. Movies end. Places endure. Or they disappear.